Imagine this. Your husband of 42 years has just passed away. You are grieving, you are broken, and you are trying to figure out how to survive without the one person who was your entire world. You think the hardest part is over. But then, one morning, you walk to your front door and you find a notice. A legal notice. And it says, "This home, the home you have lived in for 27 years, the home where you raised your children, the home where you made every single memory of your life, is being taken away from you. Not by a bank, not by the government, but by your neighborhood HOA. And the reason? A $300 debt. $300. This is not a movie. This is not fiction. This happened to a real woman in the United States of America. And by the end of this video, you will be absolutely shocked at how this was even legally possible. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is the place where we expose the real stories happening across America. Stories that the mainstream media ignores. Stories that affect real people, real families, and real lives. Today's story is one of the most disturbing cases we have ever covered. It involves an elderly widow, a small HOA debt, and a legal system that allowed her to lose everything. Stay with me until the very end, because this story has a twist that will leave you speechless. And if you think something like this could never happen to you, think again. Because millions of Americans live in HOA communities right now. And most of them have no idea what rights they are actually giving up. Before we get into the story, let me quickly explain what an HOA is for those who may not know. HOA stands for Homeowners Association. When you buy a home in certain neighborhoods or communities in America, you automatically become a member of this association. You are required to pay monthly or yearly fees, and you must follow their rules. These rules can cover everything: the color of your front door, the height of your grass, whether you can park your car in your own driveway, and even whether your children can play outside. Sounds extreme, right? But here is the part that most people do not realize when they sign those papers. If you fail to pay your HOA fees or fines, the HOA has the legal power in many states to place a lien on your home. And if that debt is not paid, they can actually foreclose on your property. Yes, you heard that correctly. An HOA can take your home. And that is exactly what happened to this widow. Her name was Ophelia Burkhart, and she was 66 years old, living in a quiet neighborhood in Granite Falls, North Carolina. She had lived in her home for over 2 decades. She and her husband had bought that home together, built their life there, and that house was everything to her. When her husband passed away, Ophelia was devastated. She was dealing with funeral costs, grief, and suddenly managing all the household finances alone for the first time in her life. During this incredibly painful time, Ophelia made one mistake. She missed her HOA payments. The amount she owed was small, roughly $300 in unpaid dues and late fees. $300. That is less than what many Americans spend on groceries in a single week. Asterisk. But to the HOA, it did not matter. They had rules, and those rules applied to everyone, regardless of circumstances. They set notices. And those notices, during the fog of grief that Ophelia was living in, were missed. What happened next is something that should never happen in a civilized society. The HOA hired a law firm to collect the debt. The law firm sent letters. Ophelia, still deep in grief and overwhelmed by the responsibility she had never had to handle before, did not fully understand what was happening. She did not have a lawyer. She did not have anyone advising her. And the HOA moved forward with the legal process. They filed for foreclosure. A foreclosure on a home that this woman owned, over $300. Asterisk, the case went through the court system. And because Ophelia did not properly respond to the legal filings in time, a judgment was entered against her. The HOA was granted the right to foreclose on the property. Her home was scheduled to be auctioned off. The home she had lived in for 27 years. The home where she raised her family. Gone. Over $300. When word got out about what was happening to Ophelia, the reaction was explosive. Neighbors were furious. Local news picked up the story. People across the country who heard about the case were outraged. Social media lit up with thousands of comments. Many people could not believe that this was even legal. And yet, it was. In North Carolina and in many other states, HOA foreclosure laws allow exactly this kind of action. The HOA board members defended their decision publicly, saying they had followed all legal procedures and had given proper notice. They said that rules must apply equally to everyone, and that they could not make exceptions, even in cases of hardship. But to the public, this explanation was completely unacceptable. People asked the obvious question, why could the HOA board not simply work out a payment plan? Why could they not show even a basic level of human compassion to a grieving widow? Why was a $300 debt worth destroying an elderly woman's life over? The HOA had no good answer. Because there was no good answer, here is what most Americans do not know. OA foreclosures are legal in the majority of U.S. states, and in many cases, the HOA does not even need to go to court first. They can simply place a lien on your property and begin the foreclosure process. In some states, HOAs have actually taken homes over debts as small as $100. This is not a rare occurrence. According to legal experts and consumer advocacy groups, thousands of HOA foreclosures happen in America every single year. And the people most at risk are elderly homeowners, people going through financial hardship, people who do not speak English as their first language, and people who simply do not understand their legal rights. The system is designed in a way that benefits the HOA and the law firms they hire, not the homeowner. And unless you have a lawyer fighting for you, you may not even realize what is happening until it is too late. This is the reality of living in an HOA community in America today. Ophelia's story did have some public pressure applied to it. And eventually, advocacy groups and local attorneys stepped in to help her fight back. The case drew enough attention that legal aid organizations offered their services, and the situation was eventually resolved before she lost her home permanently. But here is the painful truth. Not every widow, not every elderly person, not every grieving homeowner has their story go viral. Not everyone gets help in time. For every Ophelia whose story reaches the news, there are dozens of others who quietly lose their homes, who have no one fighting for them, who disappear into the statistics. And that is why this story matters. That is why you need to know about it. Because this could happen to anyone. It could happen to your mother. It could happen to your grandmother. It could happen to you. So what can you do to protect yourself if you live in an HOA community? First, always read your HOA documents carefully before you buy a home. Know exactly what the rules are, what the fees are, and what the consequences are for non-payment. Second, if you are ever going through a difficult time, illness, grief, financial hardship, contact your HOA in writing immediately. Document everything. Ask for a payment plan. Get everything in writing. Third, never ignore letters from your HOA or from any law firm acting on their behalf. Even if you think the amount is small, respond immediately. Fourth, know your state's HOA laws. Some states have recently passed laws that limit HOA foreclosure powers. Your state may have protections you do not know about. And fifth, if you receive any legal notice related to foreclosure, contact a lawyer immediately. Many areas have free legal aid services that can help you. Ophelia Burkhart's story is a reminder of something deeply important. A home is not just a financial asset. A home is where life happens. It is where children grow up, where families are built, where memories are made, and where people go to feel safe from the world. The idea that a legal system would allow a grieving widow to lose all of that over $300 is not just shocking, it is a moral failure. And until the laws are changed, until HOAs are properly regulated, and until homeowners know and understand their rights, stories like Ophelia's will keep happening across America. If this video opened your eyes today, please share it with someone you know who lives in an HOA community. You might just save them from the nightmare that Ophelia went through. And if you want to see more stories like this, real stories, important stories, stories that actually matter, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Because we are just getting started.